Good afternoon, good evening, everyone, depending on where you are joining us from. On behalf of the GFRA, we'd like to welcome you to this month's webinar. We thank you so much for taking the time to join us today, and thank you for your patience as well, since we have started late. We've had some technical delays, so apologies for that. But we are very privileged today to have Mr. Badi Maulidi that will be presenting to us today. And his presentation is on supporting the development and access to high quality FMD vaccines in Eastern Africa. So just to introduce Mr. Maulidi, he has more than 22 years of commercial and market system development experience in the agriculture, pharmaceutical, and veterinary sectors. He has worked with the public and private sectors in Eastern Africa to foster collaborative partnerships, promote sustainable development, and improve livelihoods. Currently with GalvMed, Mr. Maulidi serves as the biorelations lead for the AgResults Foot and Mouth Disease Vaccine Challenge project, an 8-year, $17.34 million pay for results prize competition that supports the development and uptake of high quality FMD vaccines tailored to meet the needs of Eastern Africa. His principal role is to create project awareness and gain commitments of public and private sector stakeholders in the project target countries, which is Burundi, Ethiopia, Kenya, Rwanda, Tanzania, and Uganda. So without further ado, I'll hand over to you, Mr. Maulidi. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Melanie. And Kayla, my sincere apologies for the
delays. We may have some
delays.
technical delays. Kindly bear with us.
Sorry, can you hear me?
I'm able to.
Can you hear me?
Melanie, are you able to hear?
Sorry about that. It probably was on my side. Go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry. So my sincere apologies once again, and thanks for this opportunity. I really appreciate the opportunity to connect and also share our experiences with regards to the work that we've done here at GalvMed. So going straight to my presentation today, let me just go on. So I'll be moving it from this side, Kayla, right?
Yes, perfect.
Yeah. So again, let me move to. Is everyone seeing that? Yep. Yeah, so the topic of today would be supporting the development and access to high quality FMD vaccine in Eastern Africa, like it has been earlier introduced. And we wanted to share the perspective of the work that we've done within the Eastern Africa region with regards to development of high quality FMD vaccines in this area. So next is just to give a table of content. I'll be discussing on 4 broad areas, starting with the overview of the AgResults Foot and Mouth Disease Vaccine Challenge, for those of you who are not aware. Then I'll be going on into areas of harmonized authorization of regionally relevant FMD vaccines. And I'll touch on the work that we've done on promoting public-private partnerships in the veterinary domain. And my last topic would be call to action and way forward that we suggest could be undertaken to really move the work that we have kickstarted within the Eastern Africa. So going on, again, is just to give a highlight of the project itself. And I would like to start with explaining what the AgResults is. For those of you who have not interacted with AgResults, it's a USD 152 million multi-donor initiative that uses pay for results prize competition to incentivize the private sector to develop or distribute high impact agricultural innovations that achieve the following goals. First goal is on reducing food insecurity, improving household nutrition and health, and increasing livestock productivity. The AgResults FMD Vaccine Challenge project falls in the third goal of increasing livestock productivity. So the theory of change around the AgResults rests on the idea that if appropriately incentivized with a price, the private sector will respond by creating and/or scale new technologies to benefit smallholder farmers. And just to mention also the donors within this initiative, you have the Australian government, the Canadian government, USAID, and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. The World Bank acts as a custodian of the funds. So just as a highlight, broadly starting from the AgResults, then moving on into what the FMD challenge aims to do. The overall aim is to improve animal health and smallholder farmer livelihoods by increasing the use of FMD vaccines that are tailored to the Eastern Africa region. We all know the problem with FMD. It's a highly contagious viral livestock disease that results in short-term productivity losses and long-term weaknesses and debilitation of adult animals. So within this project, the solution that is being offered is large-scale adoption of high-quality FMD vaccines that are suitable for use in the Eastern Africa region. And the project intends to provide an incentive through funding a portion of the purchase price of the new vaccines, which are purchased by either public or private sector buyers. And the anticipated impact is to incentivize manufacturers to support long-term efforts to control FMD by continuing to serve the Eastern Africa market and reduce the FMD productivity-driven losses and income decreases for smallholder farmers by increasing access to these vaccines. So that is the overall aim of the project itself. Going on specifically to highlight, like what Melanie mentioned, this is an 8-year, 17.34 million prize competition with the overall aim of supporting the development, registration, and uptake of high-quality FMD vaccines tailored to match the currently circulating strains in these 6 Eastern Africa countries: Burundi, Ethiopia, Kenya, Rwanda, Tanzania, and Uganda. So the project has 3 objectives, and the overarching aim is for the development and registration of the high-quality FMD vaccines that are tailored to the needs of the East Africa region. Then going on to create a greater market stability and affordability through increased production and purchase of FMD vaccines that again are regionally relevant. But we wanted also to sort of build a private sector model for FMD vaccine purchase and distribution to complement the public sector, because the situation now, you have the public sector playing a bigger role while the private sector is not really within the FMD control. So we wanted to see whether we could also build a private sector model to include the private sector into the FMD control. On the right of the slide, the anticipated impact include incentivizing manufacturers to support long-term efforts to control FMD in Eastern Africa market. Secondly, we wanted to increase access to and uptake of effective FMD vaccine. This second impact is what I'll be speaking into the way forward. What we need to do to really increase the access and uptake of the FMD vaccine. And the other anticipated impact is to reduce FMD-driven production losses for small-scale farmers in the region. These losses are estimated at 2.3 billion per year across the sub-Saharan Africa region. So in the first part of the project, for the last 4 to 5 years, what we've done is the first phase. We were fostering the development of high quality regional relevant vaccines. And what the project team did was to do an outreach to all FMD producers across Africa, Asia, Europe, in America, because the project is agnostic to where the vaccine is coming in. So we spoke and engaged with manufacturers from all across the region to highlight what the project wants to achieve. But the basic message that we are passing in is to be eligible for the AgResult FMD prize, the vaccine must meet the following condition. The first one is to meet the target product profile. And that basically is a quadrivalent vaccine with at least 6 PD50 containing serotype A or SAT1 and SAT2, and that match circulating FMD viruses in Eastern Africa. The second condition was for the manufacturers to achieve full registration in at least one of the target countries. As mentioned before, these are the 6 target countries. And then having satisfied that, the manufacturer would submit an application to the project judging panel, who will review and grant approval to those vaccines that meet the eligibility criteria in the first 2 columns, that is the TPP and the vaccine registration. And at that point, we enter into the second phase of the project, for where there is a prize that is structured as a USD 15.8 million cost share. And basically that price reduces the cost share per dose for buyers who purchase directly from manufacturers, enabling both public and private sector actors to convert FMD through access to more effective vaccine. So these were the conditions to be met by manufacturers to move into the cost share and the incentive that the project is offering. So we are very happy that in September 2024 at the FAO Global Conference in Rome, Italy, the project, through the work that we've done in the last 5 years, we announced BioPharma, which comes from Morocco, as the first company to register a quadrivalent FMD vaccine in Eastern Africa, because they met the AgResults competition eligibility criteria. So this picture captures an entire team of the BioPharma, the AgResults Secretariat, the World Bank and GovMed senior management. So we are very fortunate to announce that we are moving into the second phase of the project. This slide basically provides a highlight on who BioPharma is. It's a veterinary vaccine manufacturer based in Rabat, Morocco. It was founded in 1984 and currently produces over 40 veterinary vaccine products. But they have expanded their mandate over the years to meet the needs of not only the Moroccan veterinary health authorities, but also the needs of farmers across Africa. So just that a highlight of the company that currently has met all the conditions to move into the second phase. So the next topic that I would want to cover would be the harmonized authorization of regionally relevant vaccines. And I'll be sharing perspective of what the project sort of achieved in that area. For us to achieve the milestones that I mentioned above, there were 3 unique success factors in Eastern Africa. And these ones were important factors that led to achievement of the goal and ensure the manufacturers were able to select vaccine strains based on intelligence from national, regional, and international epidemiological networks. And then they were able to demonstrate the efficacy of these selections to the regulatory authorities in the target countries. So within the Eastern Africa region, the below 3 factors were in existence that allowed us. First was the antigen panel, So the development of the Eastern Africa Foot and Mouth Disease Virus Reference Antigen Panel. This was work that was carried out in collaboration between the World Reference Laboratory for FMD at the Pabret Institute and the WOA FAO FMD Reference Laboratory Network. And it included the AU PanVac to improve understanding of expected vaccine efficacy. There is a link there for more information around that. Secondly, the project brought in the competition where there was a requirement of the AgResults FMD Vaccine Challenge project for the vaccines that come into this project to pass testing against the East Africa FMDV reference antigen panel for entry into the competition. I'll be talking more on this just to highlight on the relevance of the antigen panel. But then also there was existence of regulatory system where through work that government collaborated with the East Africa community, there was the East African Community Mutual Recognition Procedure, which facilitated a single joint evaluation for registration of vaccines across the region. But within this EAC MRP, Ethiopia is not yet included. So for any registration in Ethiopia, it has to be done at the national level. So these three unique success factors were able to help the FMD Vaccine Challenge project achieve the milestones that we had. This other portion is actually to highlight or give a high level kind of overview of the Eastern Africa FMDV reference antigen panel and its relevance to vaccine valency to demonstrate the regional relevance of the vaccines that are coming in. So just to highlight that the East Africa FMDV antigen panel is comprised of 16 strains that are clustered into 4 serotypes, OA, SAT1 and SAT2. And these strains are selected to encompass the greatest extent of genetic diversity within the FMDV lineages that circulate within the Eastern Africa countries. For those of you who want to learn more, there is a reference in there. But for the project, what we required was for each vaccine submitted to the competition, cattle sera generated by vaccination, either 1 or 2 dose sera, will be subjected to the virus neutralization test for relevance to the Eastern African region. So current approved testing labs are Pabret at the UK and Cienzano in France. But it is also expected that AU PanVac will establish a testing capability during the lifetime of the AgResults project. As a threshold titer, the predefined by the WRL FMD, it provides a pass or fail for the vaccines suitable for the AgResults competition, and a minimum of 70% pass rate is required for each serotype set. So this is the sort of quality testing and using the panel to demonstrate efficacy of the vaccines that are coming into the project. So the impact of the Eastern Africa FMD reference antigen panel was really good for the project, because this is the first time that an independent approach of an antigen panel test has been applied to vaccine assessment before commercialization. And halfway through the AgResults FMD Challenge project, we have seen the following impacts, just as a lesson learned also. Number one, we have regulators unanimously agreeing to authorize vaccines that do not contain local strains. And then number two, because of the AgResults requirement for testing against the panel, potential buyers have expressed more confidence in the vaccines efficacy, the vaccines that actually that are coming in through the project. But also we've realized promotion of the panel has generated interest in developing of similar antigen panels for other regions within Africa and beyond. And the potential benefit of the future panel is that they could demonstrate the efficacy of the vaccines that are being developed for Eastern Africa in whether they are relevant also for other regions in Africa. So that was the work that the project did in terms of harmonization. But going on also into what exactly that we did capacity building of regulatory
Sorry,
authorities
my
to.
apologies, Mr. Maulidi. Sorry to interrupt you. You are not
Right.
in presentation mode, and some of our participants would like you to just change your screen mode, please, to slideshow.
Slideshow, okay.
Yeah. No.
Duplicate. So, sorry. I'm not on slide. I'm seeing.
If you click that TV or computer screen at the bottom, does it work?
Black the TV. There?
No, sorry, not that.
No, it doesn't.
Kayla, are you able to assist to put it on slideshow?
I'm not familiar with this application, but maybe it's the second button from the left, the
Sorry?
down at the bottom, maybe with the squares,
Here.
I guess.
It has
Nope.
taken me some.
Oh, never mind. It's fine. I think leave it, continue. I'm not sure how to put it on presentation mode. Oh, so participants are saying display settings on the top and swap presenter view. Yes. And swap presenter. Yes, that first option. Let's try that. There we
We've
go.
done that? You can see that?
Yes. Thank you. Apologies, everyone, for the interruption. Thank you, Mr. Maulidi. You can
that's
continue.
good, actually. It's a good feedback for me to see because I couldn't see that. If that is better.
Okay.
So moving on, I think what the project we were able to do in areas of capacity building. Now I can't actually see. Yeah. So sorry. This is sort of the last slide that actually will be talking about capacity building that we were able to do to support harmonized registration. There was an earlier memorandum of understanding before the project between the ESC and GovMed on formation of harmonization of registration of veterinary medicines and mutual recognition procedures. And in 2020, there was cooperation between East Africa Community, GovMed, and the UK VMD on harmonization of registration of FMD vaccines in the form of training workshops, where we held 3 days. We were able to participate on 3 days training with senior assessors from Eastern Africa, national regulatory authorities in 2020. But there was also development and adoption of annotated ESC guideline on technical requirement for marketing authorization to support the NRS and provides the basis for harmonization of authorization in line with at least the minimum international standards for FMD vaccines as defined in the WOA terrestrial manual. And then also the ESC technical working group had some agreement in these 3 areas, where the first one is FMD vaccines may be approved as conventional multivalent authorization or by using the multi-strain dossier approach, in which a range of strains are included on a single authorization to allow for different combination of strains in the final product. but this is subject to regulatory controls and limits. And also they realized there is a need for close collaboration between the national regulatory authorities and the chief veterinary officers or directors of veterinary services, because these two offices are both key and very much involved in authorization of FMD vaccines. But also it was realized that the Eastern Africa FMDV reference antigen panel provided a valuable tool to assist in the selection of the vaccine strains. So this was work that went on to really build the capacity of the NRS, because previous to this time, quadrivalent vaccines had not been registered in the area, in the regional area, in the Eastern Africa region. So there was a need to build capacity and bring efforts towards harmonization. The third area that I would be talking about is more on what the project did to promote public-private partnership in the veterinary domain. So to encourage public-private partnership in order to address challenges in the FMD vaccine value chain, the project undertook a study which led to a document which was developed by the FMD project team to be able to create awareness about the benefits of PPPs and what they could bring to the foot and mouth disease vaccine value chain in Eastern Africa. And it covered areas of the value chain from production, purchasing, distribution, delivery, vaccination, and up to the end in terms of vaccination, post-vaccination monitoring. And we were aiming to complement the current public sector efforts, which will result in improved vaccine accessibility for farmers and greater market stability. The work that we did was not done in isolation. The scope of the framework study was actually customized with the WOA PPP handbook, but we aimed to develop, to transform that into a practical framework that can be further developed into appropriate commitments between different partners. This information addresses the challenges in the FMD vaccine value chain, and we believe it's relevant to the unique FMD control in each of the project target countries. Each of the target countries had unique challenges, and there were some areas of similarity, but we believe also it can be applied more broadly to other livestock vaccine value chains and also in other geographies across Africa and beyond. So just to highlight the key challenges, it's a big document with all the information, but just in a summary, to highlight the key PPP challenges in the FMD vaccine value chain. We conducted the outreach to 140 stakeholders in the Eastern Africa region and beyond, and we had the representation of public 47 and private sector 53%. And the biggest challenges identified through the stakeholder feedback were these 6 areas. One was the high cost of vaccination, limited capacity in vaccine supply chains, the challenge of current vaccines not able to address all the regional FMD risks. There were also challenges with serotyping and vaccine matching. Vaccines were coming into the region, but they were being not matched with the circulating strains. And the last one is limited post-vaccination monitoring. And what we noted also, the first 3 challenges applied to all the target countries. All the 6 current target countries highlighted the first 3 challenges as a priority, and the other challenges 4 to 6 were applicable to a subset of target countries. So these were learnings from the studies that we conducted. And just to highlight also, we did promote we did carry out promotion of PPPs within the Eastern Africa region by engaging with different institutions, including WOA, EU FMD, USDA, TRES, and others on PPP activities related to the FMD vaccine value chain in the Eastern Africa region. We also created awareness on PPPs in various Eastern Africa regional and national platform and association meetings within the countries. And currently, the AgResults FMD Vaccine Challenge project continues to identify opportunities to encourage initiation and scaling up of PPP opportunities that can strengthen the FMD vaccine value chain in East Africa and thereby increase the impact of the project. So this is the work that we did on the PPPs. In my last slide, I'm going to mention areas that we feel still need to be addressed in the way forward, because in as much as we now have a high quality FMD vaccine, and the project itself was not designed to solve all the problems. We were looking at developing a high quality FMD vaccines, and we wanted to share our perspective of what needs to be done to basically upscale or have a bigger impact in terms of FMD control. So in this last slide, we focused on two areas. One is improving and maintaining the FMD vaccine quality and performance. And these 6 bullet points are areas that we feel, if working with other institutions as well as other players, I think we could be able to achieve that. Number one is FMD manufacturers and suppliers must demonstrate vaccine efficacy to the circulating strains in the region. This is key in terms of addressing the performance of the vaccines. Number two, we want to encourage vaccine registration and testing by AU PanVac or the WRL PubRight. Basically, the vaccines that are coming in, if they are registered and tested, then it will help in improving and maintaining the vaccine quality. But there's an area of pre-qualification of approved vaccine to show relevance to the region. And EU FMD is doing this work of pre-qualification, and we feel it's very beneficial because you have FMD buyers who want to buy vaccines, but then they float a tender without knowing which vaccines are pre-qualified. So I think the pre-qualification initiative is a very key area that can assure vaccine quality. We want also to encourage improvement of FMD surveillance system and post-vaccination monitoring, because a lot of vaccinations are done, but the PVM is not carried out. So there is no way of evaluating the effectiveness of the vaccination campaign or feedback into the quality of the vaccines. The last item in this area is investment in cold chain, vaccine handling and vaccination campaign. There are a lot of challenges, particularly when you're looking at the Eastern Africa region, where electricity connectivity towards the rural areas, it's not that efficient, and these vaccines, as they are currently designed, they need a cold chain for them to reach the farmers who are usually outside the main cities. The second area that we wanted to highlight that needs to be focused on, and we are calling in on different players to come in, is the increase on vaccination coverage for effective control. And in this area, we are thinking there is need for policy reviews to promote proactive vaccination of FMD. What has been happening is reactive FMD vaccination that is not really in tandem with the disease outbreaks or effective control measures. The second area is we want to encourage budgetary allocation to carry out recommended war vaccination coverage. This way we can be able to achieve the goal of either managing or eradicating FMD. The third area is on regional coordination approach in vaccination and control of FMD. And there are key institutions like AU IBA, WOA, FAO, IGAD, East Africa Community within the region. I think that could be very instrumental in promoting this coordinated approach, because if one country does the vaccination and the animal movement across the geographies is not that much well managed, then all that one country has invested in could go down the drain. So a regionally coordinated approach in vaccination and control of FMD, and already there are some work that actually has started around that, like in the Eastern Africa region, there is a ESC third control strategy work that we participated on. I think that could guide into that regional approach. But we also want to see promotion of multi-stakeholder platform and public-private partnerships, because this would bring in the much needed investments and synergies in terms of disease control. So at this point, Melanie and Kayla, just want to highlight also for those who are interested to follow on our progress. We encourage you to sign in on the link provided here. I'm very thankful for your time. Thanks for giving us the opportunity to make this presentation. And I think at this point, I would want to hand over to Kayla and Melanie for further discussion. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Mr. Maulidi. That was a really comprehensive presentation on the FMD Ag results. It's an incredible project involving important goals and objectives for East Africa, and it's wonderful to see the amazing progress and impact being made. So congrats to you and your teams and partners and everyone involved. Really well done. So we will move on to the Q&A part. We have just a few minutes before the hour is done. So we will take questions. Please, participants, can you post your questions or comments in the Q&A box, and between Kayla and I, we will moderate that. So first question is from Maria Gonzaga, and she says, in Uganda, FMD control is a public good, and the FMD vaccine value chain is entirely regulated by government. I'm interested to learn more on how far the project has gone in initiating PPP opportunities to improve vaccine access in rural smallholder farming communities of Uganda.
Okay.
I think you can.
Yeah, okay. That's good. I was waiting whether do I take one or two. Yeah, that's a very good question, Maria. When we did the work on PPPs, we actually encountered the uniqueness in terms of how FMD is managed. And yes, in Uganda, it's actually a public good. The same way in Rwanda, also FMD is a public good. So the control measures are really being led by the public sector. What we've realized, and unique to developments in Uganda, there is a very elaborate plan from this year to really achieve good vaccination control. And the public sector has indicated that, yes, they would be procuring the vaccines from what we know, but they would want to work with private sectors in terms of getting the vaccines to the rural areas that you're saying. So in terms of the vaccines coming in, I think the public sector would be the main, because they want to maintain the vaccine quality and to be assured that the vaccines that are coming in are relevant to Uganda. So that approach, I think, from our project, what we would want to encourage is if there is a role that private sector can play, particularly in terms of vaccine access, can the private sector be allowed to distribute these vaccines to where it is needed? Can the private sector vaccinators and practitioners, can they be allowed in the vaccination campaigns? Because we all know there is limited in capacity in terms of people, in terms of manpower and utilization in the rural areas. So what I could mention is what we are trying, and we've had very good discussions with the Ugandan authority. The plans that they are doing are very encouraging, and there is more to be learned in there. But through the project, we are trying to encourage some role that could be given to the private sector for them to play a role and really synergize the efforts that the public sector is doing. I hope I've answered your question, but if there is a Ugandan sort of player from the public sector could actually maybe highlight more.
Okay, thank you. Kayla, you can continue the next question.
Yes, absolutely. Our next question is from Sayla Zahi, who says, "Thank you for this outstanding presentation. It was truly insightful and well delivered. How can a situation be managed where vaccines from various sources with varying qualities are used for vaccination within the same country or region? What are the means of control and monitoring of vaccination effectiveness in such cases?"
Interesting question, because from the project's perspective, like what I presented, what ideally we are encouraging governments and institutions through this project, we wanted to encourage vaccines that are being used to be demonstrated. Like I mentioned, they should be tested within East Africa, the AU PanVac, or the encouragement for vaccines suppliers to register with the National Regulatory Authority. So that way, a government could actually assure that the vaccines that are coming in into the country really are fit for purpose, for their use. Do they meet the circulating strain? So in terms of the project, we were encouraging that if that format is actually followed, then any vaccine that is being procured for a country would really be a fit for purpose before the investment is done. In a situation that where the vaccines are coming in from different suppliers and the quality is not assured, what we are trying to encourage is maybe having certain vaccines being supplied and used in a certain region, so that there is a way to see, instead of mix match. This challenge was actually realized during the COVID in Africa, where during the COVID pandemic, there were vaccines that were coming from different areas with varied sort of performance. But what we would want to encourage as a project is, could we have a measure of knowing which vaccines are going into which areas? Then if you have a good post-vaccination monitoring system, you are able to measure also whether those vaccines that went into this area were able to perform. So if there is a good PVM system and monitoring system, there is a way to give a feedback on how these different vaccines performed in different areas. Unfortunately, like what we picked up from the PPP study, the PVM is not really, is still a major challenge. And there is no serotyping or matching of this vaccine. So as a project, we would encourage maybe the approach of targeted application, but ideally we would encourage the vaccines to be fast registered and quality fit for purpose established. And you can do that also through, either pre-qualification and things like that. So I hope Zahi, I've answered your question, but it's really a challenge. We see it also as a challenge, yeah.
Thank you. Melanie?
Well, thank you so much for your time, Mr. Maulidi. Unfortunately, we have gone past the hour and we're going to have to stop there. We really appreciate you accepting our invitation for this webinar. It really was a very interesting presentation, and we thank you. Thank you everyone for participating, and we hand over now to Kayla, who will just do the roundup for us.
Thank you.
Perfect. I just want to echo Melanie here and say thank you so much to Dr. Maulidi for presenting today, for accepting the invitation to participate in the GFRA's webinar series. And thank you to all of our attendees who took the time to join this webinar. As you exit the webinar, you'll see a short survey come up. I highly encourage you just to take a minute to fill that out. We are always looking for ways to improve this series and more potential topics and speakers. So please take a second to fill that out. And thank you so much. I hope you all have a wonderful day, evening, and we'll see you at the next one.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Yeah, bye-bye.